please.
Hey guys, this is Vash Stampede, and I'm here with. Go ahead and introduce yourself, my man.
On FJ, I am known as Rasconza, but on Discord and in real life, I am known as Blue. It's not my real name. It's just easier to say than my real name.
Easier to say than your real name.
Yes, I will let you guess throughout this session if you wish, but you obviously technically have seen my website. But to everybody on the FJ server who does not know me, my name starts with a U and it's not Ulysses.
Yeah, I remember going to your website and being like, oh yeah, that's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I initially saw your name, not in any kind of insult, I was just like, how do you say that?
You know what? I would make a bet on it, but in the past, the one time I did bet someone, because everybody has gotten my name wrong forever, and in fact, my agent and the accountant there, they got my name wrong when trying to give me money recently, and I was just like, just call me Blue. It's so much easier. Oh yeah, no, because that could have been a problem.
Yeah, I
get that to the bank.
I remember when I first saw you, and I was like, Rasconza, that's a cool fucking name. And then
You actually said it right. Surprisingly,
yeah.
but I guess I did say it out loud.
No, I'd actually heard it. I read it and I was like, oh, Rasconza. I do a lot of like fantasy shit, so that is well within my realm.
Yeah, that name is a name I stole from the Redwall book, I believe, Pearls of Lutra. It's been a very long time since I've read the Redwall series, but it's the name of a fox pirate knife thrower, as far as I recall. And
Dope.
I just really fucking love that name, and I stole it, and I've been using it forever for many things. Whenever I can't call myself Blue now. It used to be my Discord name, but everybody kept calling me Rasconza, and I was just like, that's not correct.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me. A lot of Americans said Rasconza. Everyone else, they said Rasconza, but with a very, thick accent in whatever dialect they were normally a part of.
Whatever sort of accent they were using.
Exactly. It's been a long time since I've had to use the name, and anybody call me it.
I I don't know. Well, okay. So I have a story about why I don't go by Zesmerel everywhere
Mm, I was
because
curious, Mr. Vash Stampede.
yeah. So I started playing. Oh God, I don't know how old I was. 9 maybe. I started playing. What is that MMO? It's really boring. It's not very good.
Man,
Um,
do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
yeah. God, and people RuneScape. I was gonna say people love the classic version, and I don't really get it. But I was like 9 or 10 playing RuneScape, and I was like, fuck, I need a name. What do
Mm,
I write? And I started looking up RuneScape names because I didn't know what to name.
mm.
And, there was I think the top poster was called Zesmer or something like that. And I was like, oh, I can rearrange this and change some things around, and it'll be Zesmerel.
Mm.
And literally everyone I've ever talked to about it, they're like, oh yeah, Zesmural. And I was like, no, or
Listen,
Zesmeril.
when there are people out there who don't, aren't bilingual and realize that, words can be said in many different ways, it's the kind of ignorant when they're just like, oh, this is exactly how to say your name. Although generally they are guessing, yes.
Yeah, it gets weird.
Yeah.
But yes, we'll come back to that question that we were kind of talking about pre-interview. How did
Hmm.
you get into role playing and tabletops in general?
So after my dropout in my first college, I was super, super, super depressed, and I was looking for any form of significance to connect with other people because after high school as well, I didn't have any friends to hang out with. I lived on top of a mountain in the other town, and I went to school in in the other town to, have friends, and I lived nowhere near them. I didn't have a car, and when you live on top of a fucking mountain, you can't really go see people because you're up there and everybody's down below. So I got super depressed and wanted to hang out with people. And I learned that you could do tabletop role playing online. And that's when I started to try to, hang out online and play with people online and just enjoy that. And my comes around to the first story of my first DM ever, where I thought, D&D could be this really cool thing. I heard so much about it. I'm having fun. I might as well sign up and see what it's like. So I got on Roll20. I found out about that. And first DM I ever had was a horrible drunk. He was terrible. He also took like a smoke break every, I want to say 15 or 20 minutes. And it was not fun. Not fun at all. I still remember my first character. It was an Aarakocra Ranger. I had, a little bit of fun in that session, that only session that I had with that DM. And since then, I just, continue to try and find better people to play with and then start running on my own. And, oh, what was that?
I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
Did you just rip ass into the mic?
No, I don't know. I didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay. Came from
Like
your
I
microphone.
legit didn't. I don't know.
Fair enough. Maybe it was Craig.
Oh, wait a
Who
minute.
knows?
Did it sound like this? No, that
Nothing
wasn't it.
picked up. Yeah, nothing picked up that time. Anyways,
I was gonna say
uh,
I tried to scratch my mic to see if maybe it sounded like that, but that wasn't it.
apparently not. It did sound like something rubbing on the mic. Anyways, uh, after that first DM, I quit trying to do D&D for like 6 months, and then I got back into just being a DM and realizing if I can't have other people run this shit for me because they're terrible at it, I'll run it myself. And then, I met other good DMs out there, which was really nice.
Yeah, I have a not a similar story, very different story, but I've told this several times. When I was in middle school or junior high, one of those two, which is like 7th or 8th grade.
Mm.
My stepdad at the time, who's no longer my stepdad, but still one of my best friends, got together with all these like 50-year-old men.
Mm.
And they were like, hey, since we're all here and we're going to be here for this family reunion, do we want to strike up a second edition D&D game? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck that is, but I'm a weeb and I'm a nerd. Like I'm a drama nerd and a weeb, so maybe I'll make something into this, And we started our first game in AD&D, and I fell in love basically. Like it was really weird because to them they picked up like a crew of players who had been playing together and knew the dynamic immediately, even though they hadn't played in like 20 years. But for me, it was like a huge learning experience, and I just fell in love because I loved acting.
That's fair. I did
And
not
then
love acting growing up.
you didn't?
Oh, I fucking hated it. I, like, obviously I'm a voice actor now, but when I was acting, it was terrible. Absolutely worst. I hate being on camera, I've realized. I don't like doing weird motions with my body that people can see. I like doing that in a booth, but not in front of other people. I'm good. You want me to act like an idiot? You can do it behind the screen.
I love it. My biggest regret though is that I can't make characters as well as I can play them.
Mm.
Which my first DM, Bert, which shout out to Bert, you were like a dope DM back in the day. He was like, well, since this is AD&D and rules are fucking hard to come by, I kind of have these pre-made characters ready to go.
Oh.
And he gave me this like, in my head, the way that I characterized them was this little, mentally they were like a fucking goblin. They were just a little shithead. and I love performing as that character because they're down here and they stay here. But I
Just a
like to
little
be able
goblin
to,
guy.
yeah, I'm just a goblin.
We just like to
Um,
fuck things up.
I
Let's go
just
eat
I
a
live
baby.
I I live for chaos. I'm afraid of water. Like, um, but I played that character, and that's I think not the earliest, but one of the first times I fell in love with acting. Because like
Mm.
everyone like used that character as like the mascot of the game,
Aw.
and I was like, this is my first character, and like they're all treating me like a mascot, and it's dope.
I do recall this story on the previous episode.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
But you get tired of that. Like,
yeah, rest in peace, Goblin. I recall.
rest in peace, Titsy. Never come
Yeah.
back again.
Hey, do we need to talk to the DM? that was a great part.
Yeah, yeah.
If you guys want to know what we're talking about, watch episode 1 of Vash and the Irregular Super Bia, also known as Big Brother.
Yeah, BB,
Yeah,
which is
it's a great name.
he's the I don't know how else to say it, but the Pathfinder of the Monster Mondays. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's the Pathfinder and technically the original creator of Monster Monday. And I guess at this point, we're now both co creators of it because, well, he still does a lot of the heavy work. I won't lie. He makes all of the monsters and I just convert them over to 5e. I also run the Twitter that we have, slash Monster Monday 1. If anybody wants to follow us on Twitter. We have a decent following, and we try and post a monster every Monday, obviously. We haven't this month, though, because we're taking a break.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he mentioned that. He mentioned that you guys were looking at a break in the future.
Yeah. We're taking this month off as a break. I know he had a friend coming over that he wanted to share some time with. And yeah, no, we've had that Twitter running for about 2 years now. We used to have a number member, a part of our team, who was running the Twitter, and let me say, they were much better at running the Twitter than I am. So,
Did they just decide to leave, or do you not want to get into that?
oh well, they're my ex, so
Ah, I see.
I don't have anything bad to say about my ex, but still,
Yeah, yeah. Once you leave, the controlling the Twitter account kind of goes with
yeah,
it.
yeah. So it's just like, well, I took over control of that, and then we're just figuring stuff out. To be fair, I did take over control a little bit before we had our breakup because they were just extremely busy. They were one of the hardest working people I know.
Yeah, I understand that.
Oh yeah.
I
But yeah, so our team is now 2 people again.
I'm gonna die here real quick.
Oh, okay.
Apparently, I forgot how to breathe and breathed
Mm.
wrong a little bit.
Well,
Like an
inhale air
idiot
into
would.
your lungs and then exhale air.
Huh. Hey, that worked. Look at that.
Hey, see? I'm a genius. A workaholic.
Um, so sort of in the same vein as um our role play and tabletop question from earlier, I'm gonna get into some Funny Junk member questions,
Yeah.
and I've got an interesting one for me and you, um,
Mm-hmm.
for different reasons, but I don't know how to say his name. I'm gonna be wrong on this, so as an American, I apologize. I'm just assuming this is how you say your name. Ninja Karika?
Might be Karika.
Yeah, Ninja Karika could be. I don't know. They ask, what aspect of gameplay do you and I think are being undervalued in tabletop games right now?
I do remember this question because it was 2 weeks ago when this was kind of made, and I thought about it a little bit, and then I forgot. So this is gonna be off the dome. Undervalued in tabletop. Um, what aspect of gameplay undervalued in tabletop? Gee, I don't honestly kind of like deep dive into ideas like that when it comes to games often, especially tabletops, because I I really like just hanging out with my friends so much that I just don't care what we're doing. So I don't think of many things as being undervalued. Uh, but hmm, I honestly can't think of anything. I like everything generally when it comes to tabletops, as long as a GM knows what he's doing. You know what? Of gameplay, the work a DM puts in. A DM will always, every DM I've always known, will always say, and I do this shit too, I hope you guys had fun at the end of the session. And that is because we try so hard to pay attention to all of what our players are doing at our table that sometimes we may forget certain things, and we apologize for that, obviously, but it's just, it's a lot of work to try and wrangle for people just having fun at your table. Generally four. I try and keep my online games now to 5 or 4 players, because online games are hard to do when you're not around each other easily.
Yeah, I for me, it that unequivocally is the correct answer, unfortunately, because I like to do this dumb fucking thing, and you'll see a lot of DMs do this. I like to have a good world and vague idea of like what the story is going to be figured out.
Yeah.
But
No, I get
any
that.
DM on the planet will tell you that like 40%, well, 60% is like preparation and the other 40 to 50 is improv.
Oh, for me, I can do a story so easily sometimes, and I give courtesy to that, to the fact that I practiced a lot of improv when it comes to D&D with another game called Deck Quest, and effectively that game is nothing but improv. So I can do a session with like 10% like construction and just 90% improv.
I
It's
I
very
like to
useful.
do that too. My my issue with it, and this always happens, I don't know why it always happens, is because I have a session. You play a lot. You play a lot more than I do, I'm sure, because I play only twice a week.
Oh, I have played a lot. I'm not running as many sessions now, but if I were to put it in number terms on my Roll20, I do have 5,752 hours played.
Yeah,
It's a lot.
yeah. My So a lot of times what I'll do is, and this actually happened with my last session, I created this sort of shattered kingdom,
Mm.
and there were four people that, well, basically what had happened is this guy, he was like I forget what his actual title was initially, but he was heavy into the military of a failing kingdom.
Mm.
And then he was given influence by what he perceived to be God. It was telling
Oh.
him all this information, and he took it from basically, he took it from like medieval times to founding a new empire and making it almost to 40K levels of technology,
Oh. Okay.
using in one lifetime, using this inspiration that this deity or this being or whoever it was that was communicating to him
This patron.
gave him. Yeah, yeah, sort of. But along the way, because he founded an empire, he saw an elven kingdom, and he was like, well, if I merge kingdoms, I'll have even more power. So I want to marry their queen.
Mm.
And then he promised their queen the empire because she's an elf and she's going to live so much longer as long as they had a kid. They had a kid. He declared the kid the heir to the empire. And then like 2 years later, he walked out in public with somebody he announced was his oldest son and said that
Oh,
they had they were the proper heir to the empire.
that doesn't
Um,
sound right.
Yeah, there were a lot of questions that I didn't give my group the answers to, and they were kind of mad about it. But I was like,
Well,
no, you're
you're
investigate.
supposed yeah, go figure it out.
Yeah. But what they found is like, and then he gave the empire to his eldest son, who disappeared. He took back over control of the empire, and now his ex-wife thinks that she has the right to the throne. His daughter thinks that she has the right to the throne since she was declared the heir. And the eldest son, who showed up after 2 years, was like, well, I was already emperor and never just gave up, so I should be on the throne.
Conflict.
And my party was like, well, who's the rightful fucking emperor then? Tell us that. And I was like, figure it out, man. That's the whole
It's
point
your
of this
job to
little,
find out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Which,
Yeah. Hmm?
they got mad at me for because I was like, I didn't write an ending to this. You literally get to pick.
Well, I think that's the fault of your players then, just not, hey, I made this thing for you guys. Go figure it out or go have fun doing it. You guys get to choose, and if you want to figure out more in-depth things, go use the magic that you have. Go talk to people. Go find somebody with a DNA test.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be
I
too hard.
We actually had a lot of fun in that session, but I had a lot of like scrutiny from the players, at least in this one group, because they were like, this isn't a story. And I was like, yeah, it is, but it's sort of a choose your own adventure because you guys get to decide how it ends. Uh, and they really
Yeah.
wanted me to like write who the proper, like who the actual emperor should be. And I was like, no, they all have a pretty legitimate claim.
I mean, that's exactly how it. I, do you hang out with these players anymore? Because they sound like not the best players, honestly. Well, we want a legitimate answer. Well, that's for you guys to fucking decide. You're the heroes. Go solve the problem before all the innocents get killed. Like heroes do.
Yeah.
Like maybe they were expecting more of a railroad because they've had more railroaded sessions in the past, but still, it's one of those
That's
things where
definitely like,
you guys have to go figure it out.
yeah, yeah. And I think I know what their problem with it was, and it was their approach to it, because they kept going into camps that supported one candidate,
Mm.
and they were like, why is this person's claim legitimate? And like, obviously the supporter will tell the story of why it's legitimate.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
And they're like, well, he's not telling us anything as to why her claim isn't legitimate. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
because he doesn't believe that.
Yeah, no shit. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Who are these people? I want to make sure I don't play with them. No, it's fine. Uh, yeah, no. I've never had anybody have to. Well, I've never ran a session where people have had to choose the next successful heir or claim to throne yet. I've done a lot of D&D, as you can tell. So yeah, it takes a lot of effort to kind of wrangle people to pay attention.
Yeah,
It's you
it
guys,
was
you
fine.
figured out, you do it.
They did something that I've seen when groups get lost. Um, they did something that I've seen lost groups do a lot, and they basically elected like the most vocal player, and they're like, yeah, whatever his reason for picking whoever is the new emperor, that I'm gonna follow them because they're loud.
No, that makes perfect sense in my mind because, for example, when you're playing online, there's going to be certain players who speak up a lot faster and better. Not to say that the other players don't want to talk, but like they just have an opinion to say and they say it quickly because they want to make sure. Well, it's not that they want to make sure that it's heard, it's just that sometimes other people aren't talking and they just say their opinion first. And with all that, then everybody's just like, well, you're the mouthpiece of the group, and we all support you because we're all friends. So you can say what you want, and we'll generally trust you. And if we do have different opinions, we'll be like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, yeah. But we ended up having fun in that
Yeah,
session. But
that's all you
this kind of, I might as well ask this question
need.
since it's fucking. Oh, there it goes.
Question in an
I,
interview? Say it isn't so.
oh no, I have to. Sometimes scrolling funny junk does not want to work well on my phone, and I don't really know why.
I never use it on my phone if I can help it. I didn't have a phone until I was 22 because I didn't need one. And now I'm
Hey, that's cool.
26, so I've only had one for 4 years, and I've had the same phone for 4 years.
Nice.
Just don't drop your phone, or get a case for it. Because I have dropped my phone a couple times, and this thing has not even gotten a scratch on its screen.
Hell yeah. So, Venomous Valentine wants to
Mm.
ask, do we have any terrible stories of those kind of D&D players?
Many. I've had players try to players have their player characters try to rape other player characters, obviously with no consent, which is fucked up. I have had, certain people try to inject their fetishes in kind of severe ways, and I'm not talking about furries because furries are, well, I mean, they do have a lot of problems, but they aren't generally the most problematic players. Uh, Players who run away from the group, then blame the group. Players who get mad at me, even though I give them all the tools that they need. I've had many problems playing D&D. I've been running D&D for 10 years now, and I've probably hosted for 100 plus players at this point. So I try and play with as many people as possible, mainly because I like the idea that anybody can play D&D. And so I don't generally mind who joins my table. Obviously, we have black rules, which, came to be after certain people fucked around. But we don't really have to talk about the black rules other than the session zero, because if you break the black rules, you're kicked from the table. There is no ban. There is no warning. It's just if you fucked up, you're fucked.
Yeah, I have a lot of stories like that. I have a really good friend of mine who I don't play D&D with, even though they do play, because every time they want the story to either be entirely based on their character with no like deviation,
That's dumb.
and if you try to deviate, like if you like, oh, you come across a city and they have this odd illness where their wounds are glowing neon green and they speak backwards if they're infected. Like, he'll be like, that has nothing to do with my backstory. I'm gonna sit at the church and wait until y'all figure it out.
Okay. Next time, make a character that's going to be with the party. We're going to play without you.
Yeah, I ended up like, we ended up killing his character, and because we were in real life, he threw his dice on the table and walked away, and I was like, okay, we're gonna continue playing. And we went
Good.
on for like 8 or 9 hours.
Good. It's exactly what you should do. This is advice for anybody listening to this podcast. If you don't make a character that wants to play with the other people and they have a job to do, like if the DM says, you guys are all mercenaries and you're going to go help this faction do this, you can totally make a character that doesn't want to be there, but he's there because he has to be. You can make characters that don't like what they're doing, but they're there because they have to be, because that makes them money, it makes them survive, it makes them whatever reason that the DM says that you're there for. Make a character that's with the party, because then you're all going to be doing the thing that the DM said that you were going to be doing, and he will get, or he or she, the DM, whatever, will get to your backstory eventually. Just trust them. And if they don't get to your backstory, ask them out of session. Hey, man, I feel like you might have missed this opportunity, or I'd like to ask if this, if in case you've forgotten, because sometimes a DM does. We're human. We
Yeah.
forget things. Our brains aren't as big as you think.
No, no. I had a. This is one of my favorite players actually, and I haven't played with this dude in. Oh God, how old am I now? 10 years? Jesus fucking Christ. We still talk all the time, but I just haven't played with him since I quit playing second edition.
Mm.
But he had a character who didn't want to do the mission, but it was necessary to do what he wanted. Like, he had a bigger goal in mind.
Mm.
In order to do his bigger goal, he had to do this. And he was cool with it, but it was hilarious because after every encounter, because he was a healer, he would go to other players, or not other players, but other characters, and be like, I healed you 3 times. That's 3 gold pieces you owe me. Make sure you don't forget about it. And like, he was hilarious because he true resurrected basically one of our player characters afterwards, and he's like, I
Lemony.
want you to know, you owe me like 1,000 gold. And he's like,
I think
how?
that's perfectly honest. That's perfectly a sane thing to do in a D&D game.
Yeah, it was that it was fun to play with that character because there were moments where, because they were going after this orb that they had to have to open a gate, and he had a chance to steal the orb, but doing so would kill another character. And he just held back and he stared at the other character and was like, I want you to know, you don't get any money for this adventure. You owe me everything. And he's like, oh, you love me, don't you? And the dude was like, no, I don't like you. I'm just, listen.
That's right. Embarrass them. Embarrass them about their, their money problems.
Yeah, exactly. It was, so I'm in that same boat where like, I'm fine if you have a way that your character can be like, oh my God, I'm here and I have to be here and I'm doing it. But like, actually be there and actually do it.
Yeah. It's not that hard to make a character that wants to work with the other people. I've had too many edgy roads sit at the edge of the bar counter and be like, well, the party gets together. I want to stay in the bar and stay in the corner. I'm like, okay. And then I start explaining everything to the other players because they're all doing the quest. And then the guy who's giving the other players the job, starts sending them on their way. And the guy stays in the bar. And I'm like, okay, well, you should probably make a new character because I'm going to follow these people for the rest of the session. Yeah. I don't have I
Yeah.
don't I don't have time for players to split the party in a sense of like I will let you split the party. I don't mind that. But if you are session 1 not cooperating, then you should probably invest somebody who's interested in this. Or maybe that cool rogue you have doesn't sit in the corner of the bar. Maybe he follows the party.
Maybe
It'll
he's
help you.
trying to make some cash or whatever his motivation is.
Yeah, well, generally that we, usually figure that stuff out in session 0 because from other than like major backstory things with my session zeros, it's everybody get together. We're all going to make characters together, including race and all this stuff. If you want to be, silent about your race, just message me and we'll, get on it because it's not that big of a thing and it will be revealed rather quickly because you're just walking into this, into the scene. But it's not hard to be like, okay, you guys are doing this, so you should all be invested in this type of idea or ideology or whatever. You guys are all from here because this is where this campaign is taking place. Perhaps make characters who aspire to these prospects in life.
Yeah, my session zeros are usually, we'll make characters and then I'll try to set an expectation of, okay, how much do you, and this is a big problem I found, is like,
Mm,
okay, how much do you guys want to RP versus how much do you want to do combat versus, like, do you want this to be a more technical game where I put you in combat situations that are confusing?
mm.
Or do you want this to be like an RP heavy, like what are we looking at? And with my current team, that's kind of what we're running into because there's some people who haven't, they want it to be RP based, but when it comes to them RPing, it will get to their turn and they'll be like, well, I just tell them this. And I'm like, well, literally everyone else here is having a conversation. Do you want to do that or do you want to like just generalize what you say to them? And it's weird because like everyone in my group has said that they want heavy RP and then about 40% of them don't want to RP their character. Or they want to be a dragon, which is
I mean, I don't mind trying to be a dragon, but I'm I generally am around that too. I've gotten to the point where whenever I make sessions now, I will explain to the players like depending on what type of campaign I'm running, because when I was running, currently I'm only running a what's the term? A module from 5e Icewind Dale. It's one of my favorite modules. Uh, so I couldn't really explain how much RP or stuff is in it, but when I'm running my own campaigns, I will give the players like a selection to choose from, and it'll be like this campaign, if you're fighting demons, which I don't do often, if you're fighting demons, there's going to be a lot of combat, and there's going to be some parts where there are heavy RP, but don't expect heavy RP all the time. Or if we're going to be doing a diplomatic mission, prepared to play your characters with heavy RP. Maybe a barbarian isn't the most fun you'll have with this because you won't have the opportunity to rage and kill things all the time. It will basically, I'll be like, it'll benefit you to have higher charisma in this type of campaign.
I I find that to be. I don't know if you've ever run into this. Have you
Mm.
ever? Are you a forever DM, or
Yes,
do you have some that you play in?
I do have some that I play on though. That's thankfully, luckily to BB and to my ex, I got to play in a lot of games over these past 2 years, which is very kind of them because before that I was forever DM and I did not get to play as characters that often.
I I have this problem where I'm a DM and I'll be like, okay, so here is my basic outline. Before game when I'm talking to myself, I'll be like, okay, here's the basic outline. Here's what I expect to happen, bar some shenanigans because there's going to be some shenanigans.
Of course.
Um, so I'll plan that all out and I'll be like, okay, great. And then we'll get to the table and there's going to be one or two and it's always, I know exactly who it's going to be every fucking time, but they're always a shithead.
Mm,
And the fact that
elaborate.
like yeah, they
There are many.
derail it in a way that is both comical and realistic. And I have to allow it because I'm like, listen, that makes perfect sense. Like yeah, okay.
I mean,
Um,
if they're stirring shit, but it's in canon and the rest of the players are having fun, let them stir as much shit as they want.
exactly.
If everybody's having fun at the table, and obviously if you're not having fun, then you can ask him, "Hey, can you calm this down a little bit outside of session?" But otherwise, they're giggling, and I can sit back and write some notes right now.
Exactly. Because I have two players who I know are going to do that.
Mm.
For certain. And Drew, if you ever listen to this, it's specifically about you because I'll talk to him, and that's the thing is that Drew and I have a proximity AOE of each other that
Mm.
like he's a banker and I'm a
Oh.
community director and like we're both like smart individuals and we're doing well, but the closer we get to each other, the farther our IQ falls.
As it should be. You should always have a friend you can go gremlin mode with.
Yeah. And so I'll get to a campaign and I'll be like, okay, here's the setting. Here it's very important, very blah, 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 blah. And he'll be like, yeah, I'm going to polymorph into a horse. And I'm like, why? What the fuck? Um, we had
Mhm.
a, there were two cylinders, one with a lot more liquid in it than the other.
Mm.
And the idea was because there was a drain in between them so they'd even out. Uh, and the two party members that were in each of them couldn't see it, but the rest of the party who was above could see what the difference was and like help. Oh, someone needs to make a hole or drain it or whatever. And he was like, yeah, that sounds all good and everything, but I think it would be funnier because we really just need to get the guy who's in the low end up into this archway, which is a door. So I'm going to polymorph into a horse and jump in, and the wave would carry him over there. And I had to sit down and I was like, God damn it, motherfucker, would that work?
Yeah, no, I love when a player is creative about the like things that they can do and then it also works because it's just like, why wouldn't it work? It's like, okay, yeah, sure, fuck it, why not? It would work. Yeah, I appreciate like when it comes to systems as well. I think 5e has the most ease when it comes to those things as well because there's a lot more freedom in that edition to do effectively whatever you want because there's not a lot of written rules for like certain things, and it's just like the DM can make it up or it can be easily modified or homebrewed or anything like that. I'm just a big fan of 5e personally. Compared to
Yeah,
certain people's opinions.
certain BB's opinions.
Yeah, I love BB. I just know he doesn't like he just doesn't like the system I like.
That's fair. Listen, you
He
can
had
respect someone and be a little turd about it too.
exactly. It's fun to stir shit with your friends.
Oh man. Let me see if I can get another. Let's see. Oh no. Oh, this one. This question was one like that I've been asked to ask other people.
Mm.
If you could eradicate one crime from existence, aka no one will ever commit that act again, but you have to do it yourself first, which crime do you do?
Tax fraud.
So quick.
Yeah, well, just imagine how many certain people in higher up positions wouldn't be able to do it anymore.
And how much money
It
you save
would
in taxes.
it would be so glorious to watch all the people who fucking skip out on so much money at the top of the level just be completely fucked over by it. You wanted to save millions and billions of dollars because you donate to museums? Get fucked.
Oh, that's funny.
Oh yeah. I thought of this question.
Yeah. Man, I don't have an answer for that because, like, fuck. I think for me, and this may get a little dark, I'm not going to try to go there too hard.
Mm.
I think for me, it would be like being bribed by like a major corporation for anything. Like, I would
Oh,
love for, like, I don't know, Sony or any large company to pay me millions of dollars to say something,
don't
and then no
you
one can
have to
ever.
commit the act though? So you'd
Oh
have
yeah,
to
I.
bribe someone.
Oh shit. Oh fuck.
Yeah,
Is
who
taking
are
a
you
bribe
paying
illegal?
off?
Oh
I
fuck.
think taking a bribe is illegal. I think. I don't know. Is taking a bribe illegal? Domestic bribery and corruption is governed under the criminal code, which prohibits various forms of corruption, including bribery of various officials. Oh, so you'd have to be a various official.
Yeah, I'd love to be a various official and then take a large bribe from like an industry or a corporation.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess accepting bribes would no longer be legal. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh no.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh
Well, I
no.
guess the question was
Never.
if you got rid of the crime forever. So I guess it would disappear. Yeah, I mean, if anything, that's a great thing. I'll take the bailout money and no one else can do it.
Exactly. Um.
That'd be pretty fun.
So you play with a lot of people, I assume,
Oh yeah,
right?
I have played with hundreds of players, although my, relationships with most of them have variously dwindled, and I have my own server that I run, which currently only has like 17 or so people in it right now that are generally the first people I try to connect to if I run a game nowadays.
Yeah.
And obviously I can't include BB in that because I like running 5e and I have so much built around that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he will not play 5e, I assume.
No, and I wouldn't want him to either because he had a terrible experience when he played 5e, but he played Gary Gygax's original Tomb of Horrors
Oh hell no! Why would you
converted
do
over to
that?
5e. But he didn't know that. It was his first time playing 5e. And so he had one of the worst experiences where Gary Gygax made that dungeon to fuck over players who min-maxed because he didn't really like min-maxing that much. And so he made it to just completely fuck with you. And so BB played through that. He played it for 3 sessions.
Good
So,
lord.
and then he just never wanted to touch 5e again. And I was just like, that's not a fair example to the game. And he refuses to touch it again. And me and another friend of mine, like we had a temporary discussion where we tried to be serious about, his genuine like hates
Disdain
towards
for
the
it.
game, yeah, disdain for it. And he had some good pointers, but some of them were not really fair. Excuse me. Some of them were not really fair, and so we kind of left it at that he just won't play it again, and that's just like, okay, that's perfectly fine. You don't have to do anything you don't want to.
Yeah, you can't pressure somebody into something like that. Like, they're not going to have a fun time, and you're obviously the aggressor, so, like, there's no point.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it depends on what you're trying to, push them into, because sometimes certain people do just need like a little push, but he's already experienced something that he doesn't like. So
Yeah. Man, what a fucking roller coaster to start with. Damn.
yeah. So you were asking questions about the uh, other people that I played with.
Yes, do you have a favorite type of player?
Oh man. Um Players who engage with the story.
Man, that's
Generally.
a low bar.
Yeah, hey man.
Listen.
Certain players will be like, I am here to cause chaos. And I'm like, okay. Are you going to be causing chaos for the mission? No?
Hmm.
Okay, okay. I'll guess
Um,
I'll DM for you for a little bit, but again, as I said earlier, you should probably have some motivation to be here.
yeah.
Because I love running sessions, and there are some sessions where I'm just like, this is a sandbox, go, and I'll let them do whatever the fuck they want. But generally, a session has to start somewhere where they're all doing stuff together, and you know, you guys do whatever you're supposed to do together. But no, I I love players who just play in the session, or I do appreciate a very good role player. I do very much appreciate it. But they're not everything. And also, I appreciate players. If my players ever hear this podcast, none of them go on the Backwater or Basket Weaving forum site that we go on. Uh,
I got
none of them go there, but I might send this to them afterwards that I was just in a podcast. And if any of them get to this part, it'd be really cool if, you guys knew all of your abilities on your character sheet. So I didn't have to remind you that you can do these things. It's
Wait,
just,
no, wait.
mm,
Ask them very specifically
mm.
to remember the magic items that they selected.
Oh, yeah, no, that too. Sometimes it's just like, you have a magic item. But I also love when a player forgets they have a magic item, because if they forget, I forget. And if I forget, and then they're like, oh, I'm going through my inventory. What the fuck can I do? I have this. And I'm just like, oh, fuck, I gave you guys that?
What the fuck are you?
When the fuck did
I
I do that?
I also enjoy like a good role player. Um, I sort of agree with Gygax on the min maxing, just because I don't love it as much, but I understand that you want to be a badass. Like, I get wanting to do that from your perspective. Um, but like, make that a character
I,
if
I
you're
have
able to.
Yeah, no, I have no issues with people min maxing, because no matter what you make, I can make something stronger.
Yeah.
I'm a DM. It's just like, oh, you did 100 damage. Oh, that's a shame. It's a good thing this
Uh,
thing has 1,200 HP. It's easy.
I I had a game like that. I have a player who he's he's in a weird like self discovery kind of thing going on with him right now. Because he wants to be a good RP player, but he absolutely loves min maxing all of his characters and then not RPing whenever there's an opportunity to. And we got in combat with a Death Knight, and he's like, yeah, if I combine these two things, I can do like 380 damage.
Nice.
And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. And then he did it, and I was like, okay, he is very upset with you. And he's like, no, I have a monster's manual, and he doesn't have that much health. And I was like,
Oh,
this one does.
I'm. If you ever come to me and are like, I know the stats for this monster, it doesn't have that, I'm gonna break your legs. I don't give
Yeah.
a fuck what the monster manual says. This is my game.
Yeah, exactly.
I run it. I run it. The monster manual doesn't. I don't give a shit if that thing says, like, I will throw goblins at you at level 20, and guess what? This goblin has a fucking. He's wielding the goddamn. Oh god, why can't I remember the name? It's like the Lightbringer equivalent in D&D. The Oath. No, the Oathbreaker? No, that's just a paladin class. Whatever. He's using that one paladin sword that every fucking D&D game has. And, he'll just destroy you. Why? Because he's a goblin. And he's really cool. End of discussion. Like,
Yeah.
and I had players do that in the past, and then I just like, I'm going to make every stat block. I don't care. And I have ever since, generally. Unless it's like something like this module I'm running with Icewind Dale. Like, I have players who don't give a shit about the monster stats and they'll just fight things. So I'm just like, okay, I'll just use the monster stats there. But whenever I did have players do that, I started making monsters, and then I got really good at creating monsters. And so now I can make some pretty decent boss monsters that have like 600 plus HP that you'll be fighting at level 4, and they have certain mechanics. They have like 3 initiatives, not legendary actions, initiatives, because I'm not a fan of legendary actions, but I'm kind of getting more used to them again because they're just easier to run. And yeah, no, I made this Alucard for I can't remember their name, but it was a while ago. They asked for Alucard from Helsing, and I basically made this boss monster that can be fought at level 20. It has 2,000 HP. It can do X times 2 D6 based on how many certain points it has, and the range of it is like up to 2,000 feet plus. It has some pretty good stats on it. And it's just like, yeah, no, I know what I'm doing. And if players want to fight this at level 20, I made a Tarask that was like an actual Tarask that would take effectively like 3 Tiamats to fight, because we don't have many god monsters in 5e that have stats. So I was just like, what would a real Tarask be able to do? So do this, and I think it has like an extinction beam that does like, it's like a 600 or 1,200 foot range, and it just, anything that's in its path just takes 300 D something. It's really strong. And I can build that around players because I know by the time that they get to this boss that I've created, I will give them enough shit to be able to fight it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in a very like, it's less D&D now. It started out as 5e, but it because we've been going for like fucking 40 sessions or more. It's very much its own game now. But we've been running with that, and their main goal on this first adventure is to kill the god of decay. And the very first thing that one of my players asked me, because this is their first adventure, and we didn't start here, right? Like, we started with like a basic, okay, you've got some guy and he got kidnapped by goblins. And they learned how to play through that. And then about 20 sessions in, they got like, hey, we're going to go kill the god of decay now. And it's been 20 sessions, and this dude's like, can you show me the stat block outside of this? And I was like, no. I will not show you the stat block for the god of decay.
That's dumb. Why would I give it to you?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, hell no.
I might give it to you at the end of this entire campaign. Sure. Otherwise, there's a very good video by XP to level 3 where it's like how to be a Chad GM or something like that, where he has a very good opinion on it. In my opinion, he has a very good opinion on it, where it's just like he has a character approach the GM, and it's just like, oh, you want to know the stats of the creature? You don't really got to worry about it. Maybe I'll tell you at the end of the session. And then player approaches him again. He's just like, well, you really want to know? I made it all up. I waited until all of you did something really cool at the session, and you all were looking like you had a lot of fun, and I made everything up. And once you all had, a really fun turn of doing something cool, it said it died. So yeah, it's D&D or tabletop RPGs, I think, are best played when you realize that we're all just here to have fun and play a story. And sometimes a story does need dramatics, and you don't need to know everything that's going on behind the curtain. Once you realize everything that's going on behind the curtain, then you'll realize, oh, so you just make shit up and none of our actions matter. No, that's not true. Everything that I'm doing, you all have proven are having fun with. You are all believing everything because it is make believe. We're all just pretending here to fight, whatever lich here. So suspend, your disbelief just a little bit more and just trust that everything that's going on behind the screen is going exactly as planned because you're all having fun. Even if the story isn't as real as it could possibly be because you know all the stats.
Yeah. I have a player who she's young, like she's not underage, but she's young mentally. It's very, very like whenever we talk about the world or like before our sessions because we get together and we'll bullshit for like an hour and then we'll start usually.
I love those players who hang out before session.
Yeah, she'll get in and she'll be like, why is the world like that? And like has a very like childlike view of things. And we were playing through, oh fuck, my brain went numb. What's his fucking name? Yeah, I just went, I had it. I literally loaded it in the brain and then my brain was like, yep, we've got that information. Don't need it anymore.
Yeah, she's got some childlike, glee or, opinions towards the world.
So we were playing through the campaign where there's like the main lich who has like his eye and his hand and like the body parts. What's his fucking name?
Vecna?
Vecna, yes. We were playing through that campaign. And she was like, I'll just ask him to be my friend. And like, he doesn't have any reason to attack us now that we're confronting him. And I was like, that's not gonna work. And she's done that with like every boss since then. I haven't figured out a way to explain to her that like, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, we're cool. No, it's all Gucci.
I don't think many bosses would do that. No, depending on, their motivation. And obviously, once I think we've kind of slightly oversaturated the market with villains with tragic backstories. So, maybe the power of friendship won't help you here because you've watched so many shonens. Maybe this dude really just wants to, eat babies. And, maybe if you want him to be your friend, you can offer him a baby. Then he'll be your friend. I don't mind that. Like, unless your views align with the enemies that you're trying to kill, you probably won't be friends. Unless he wants to eradicate all life, because even then, he probably won't be your friend. He'll just kill you. Or maybe he'll kill you last. And he could be your friend that long.
Yeah, they're not a bad player in any regard. They just have that, and I'm like, no, that's not going to happen.
I don't see any issue with that because I love playing a character who is a redeemer, somebody who tries to bring somebody from the evil to the good. I'm currently playing as a redeemer in one of BB's campaigns, and let me tell you, we deal with a lot of zealots, and zealots don't like changing their fucking mind. So It's very aggravating to be like, come on, man. I don't want to kill you. I've killed so many of your friends. I really don't. And they're just like, and I'm like, okay, here we go again.
Yeah.
And so It's just like, oh, BB, if you do listen to this, because I know I watched yours, I love your games. I really do. I think I've only converted 2 people ever since becoming a redeemer. Maybe, no. It was oh no, it was two. It was August and no, it was seven. He turned his name to August later, and that other dude. But still, it's hard playing. It's hard playing a redeemer because as I play my redeemer, I try to have my character view the world as nice as it could be because he's gone through shit where it's just like, coming to think of it, a lot of these things could have been solved if we just talked or moved forward and just, realized, oh, we have to live this way. Let's move forward so that we can continue living and have a good life because we don't need to cause strife with other people. We can just be better. It's not hard. It's very easy to be evil, I've learned, when it comes to D&D because you just take what you want, and it's not hard to take what you want. It could be hard to fight someone, obviously, but it's not hard to just be like, this is mine now. What is hard is to be able to break whatever, you took in half and share it with someone else because that means less for you.
I've never played a Redeemer. I feel like that would be an interesting character to try and jump into.
It's very hard sometimes because there are certain people that, like, I love the other players at the table and I appreciate all the patience they have for me. But I've definitely had some situations where me and the other players, not the players, sorry, the player characters have had conflict where it's just like, I do something that is very much like I would prefer to save or heal or keep these people alive, and all the other players are just like, "Nah, we lethal in this bitch." I'm like, okay, I guess I'll save who I can amongst these crazy people. Oh yeah, no, there's. Oh, sorry, you first. You
No,
first.
go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, no,
Sorry,
no.
I
Oh, I was just reiterating to the end of that. Like in our one of our recent sessions, like I was trying to non-lethal everybody that I could get my hands on, but the problem was every person I non-lethaled was already bleeding from another player character. So when it got back to their turn, they just bled out, and I was just like, "Damn!" Because I saved like two or three people that session, and they all bled out afterwards. It's like, well, I tried. That was the best I've
look,
ever done in a combat with these people. But anyways,
the closest I ever got to like a Redeemer is I played a Paladin who took an oath never to kill anyone,
mm.
and then the DM like it was an interesting session because typically when I get a chance to play a character for some reason, I play the fucking asshole who like not an asshole to the party or anyone, but like I play the asshole who is like, oh yeah, why wouldn't filling a pig full of explosives and then having the dragon eat the pig and then using a spell to set it off work? Like, why wouldn't that work?
That's amazing.
Which is
I
something
love
we
that.
fucking did.
That's something you should be able to do in D&D. It's we are here to creatively do whatever the fuck we want, know how well, not entirely without morality, but I'm here if I'm here to blow up a pig, that's fucking hilarious.
Well, the DM gave us these tokens, and they were like, "Here's the deal: they will store one spell, whatever spell you want, but they will store it, and then whenever you want to cast it from that token, even if you're a mile away, it'll cast it." And I was like, "That's awesome! I'm taking one of these."
That's amazing. Yeah.
And this village was asking us, "Hey, we have this fucking dragon that lives up on the mountain and keeps coming down and eating us. Can you do anything?" And I was like, "Well, do they have any livestock?" And the DM was like, "Yeah, they have pigs and cows." And I was like, "I want to take the largest pig they have, um, and kill it. And then what I'm going to do is fill it to the brim with like gunpowder and pitons."
Yes.
And the DM was like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I was like, "I have big things in plan."
I'm making a
Um,
pig frag grenade.
and then I put one of the tokens in with all the gunpowder and the pitons and everything. And then I put the pig out in a field and I cast prestidigitation on it to make the smell waft up to the dragon.
Amazing.
And he was just sitting there with his like furrowed brow, like, "You guys are supposed to fight the pig, you know that. You guys are supposed to fight this dragon." And then of course he rolled for it, but it came down, ate the pig, and then I used the fucking sigil or token or whatever you want to call it to cast fireball.
Nice.
and I just saw his head go into his hands, and he's like, "I'm gonna have to calculate some damage."
Yeah, no. I love when players do that. I have unfortunately not had the opportunity for many players to achieve like completely subverting the DM's ability to be like, "Oh, that happens." But I have had players completely fuck up where I'm like, "Okay, give me a minute. I need to calculate something." That happens
Yeah,
more often than the other.
and you have like, there's very little things that you can base some of those things off of.
Oh yeah. Oh, I suppose, yeah, no. When it comes to freedom in my D&D games, like I will often roll on tables that don't exist in my mind because it's just
Yeah.
so easy to be like, okay, I need some math here to help me make a decision.
I've been many, many times just faux rolling, like fake rolling dice to sound like I'm figuring something out. Be like, hold on, guys, let me, and I'll just like roll like a handful of 20s and look at them and just be like, that's gonna be a lot, though. I mean, listen.
I I used to do that because it was very fun to, kind of tease. Now I do the scary thing where I just roll everything in front of my players and I'm just like, okay, and then I start rolling. And then I roll. And then I roll and they're like, what does that number mean? What does that mean? It's just like, don't worry about it. Just wait, just wait. I was like, okay, now this happens. Oh, if that roll means we gotta roll 3d6 over here. But yeah, no, all of my rolls now are public because while there is, like I said before, the subversion of, telling the story for the players to see, I also show the players, yeah, no, this would totally hit you because they have a +9 to hit you and you only have a 15 AC. So yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done that.
Oh,
I
it's
very
super
much
fun.
I very much am like, okay, give me your armor class, armor rating, depending on whatever system we're playing, whatever it is.
Mm.
And I will let you know if I hit you. But I've almost never lied about it.
Every DM, listen, players, this might blow your mind. Every DM lies to you. There's
Oh
times
yeah.
when they roll like 40 crits against you, or they roll 40 crit fails against you, and then they'll say it hits or it doesn't hit because we we love you and we want you to continue playing. And sometimes we really like your characters. We really love the characters who love our stories, and we'll try and keep you alive a little bit longer than that other player who likes to stir shit. But
Yeah.
we we lie to you all the time, and we'll continue to lie to you. But we love you, and we want you to keep playing with us because this is a story we're all having fun with. And I don't think it really matters that we are lying to you because you didn't care before.
In my current sesh, which is in my current campaign that I'm running, which is actually an old redone. I've done it like 10 times.
Mm.
Because they're getting ready to go up against a god. I have this
Yep.
character who's like, no, I have the best this and the best that. Like, I'm basically untouchable in combat. I love to listen to that, and I can't say anything because I'm like, no.
Man, I'm
I
so
mean,
powerful. I'm so cool. I have like a bajillion AC. Okay, make a reflex save. What
uh,
do you mean? Like
I
I'm a
don't. What are you talking
barbarian.
about?
I'm resistant to all damage, and I'm super duper strong, and I can't be this or that. It's just like, okay, make a wisdom save. You failed. Well, you're gonna use all that against your friends. Oh
Oh no.
no!
We had this guy, and he's still in our campaigns, and I love you to death, Aaron. If you ever hear this, I love your character. I
You've
love you,
called
but
out like 3 players this game, this
I
interview.
have called.
I love this.
This is the thing though, because I have no problems calling out because I'm very open.
Yeah.
I've always, unfortunately, told you what I feel about you to your face, so they know what I'm gonna say.
Nice.
Uh, but Aaron's character is the one that is basically untouchable to anything within the 5e rule books. The problem is that my brain is not the 5e rule books, and he was talking about all these items and all this shit that he can do. And he's like, yeah, basically I don't have to worry about combat. And then they came up against a wooden mannequin. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna decimate it. I'm gonna cast whatever the fuck it was." He cast, and then the mannequin held its hand up and cast one of his spells to stop it. And he just stood there, and it looked at him, and it was like, "It has copied everything you have."
Amazing.
And he was like, "Oh no."
Oh, you guys are fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is very fun throwing doppelgangers of the players at the players because it's just like you've clearly built every player will try and build themselves to be somewhat dependable in combat. There are certain players who don't, which is perfectly fine. And I honestly appreciate a player who will also be like, I'm gonna just run over here and hide. Because that brings in creativeness that the players will have to discuss about in character with that character to be like, hey, why the fuck didn't you help us? But like just when you do stuff where it's just like I'm a god and then you throw themselves or a godlike thing compared to them against them, it's just like, oh no. He's gonna kill all of you, I'll be fine. Yeah, I love doing that. Did you die? Oh god, he got up and got away. Well, I guess this interview is just you guys and me now. FJ, how you doing? I don't know if
How
you're
are
gonna.
you?
Oh, hi, you back? Where'd you go?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I literally like scratched my ear and then just completely nothing.
You scratched your ear and what?
I scratched my ear and then I couldn't hear anything you were saying.
Oh, huh. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck happened, but
Very, very weird.
you've probably heard of this campaign a lot. It's the oh, I forget what it's called, but it's the beginning campaign for the one that the McElroys did.
Oh, yes. I loved their first season campaign with Taco and like the rest of the gang. I don't remember the
Yeah.
rest of the characters mainly because I really, really, really enjoyed Taco. But
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
With like the guy who wants you to transport stuff and you end up
Yeah.
fighting the bugbear.
Yeah, like it starts with Lost Mines of Fandelver and then it switches into whatever. I don't remember their names because I'm not the biggest fan of My Brother and Me and the rest of the McElroys, but I did
Yeah.
love their first campaign and I don't remember what song it is, but like the Voidfish, I think it was called, like the Voidfish song. I
Yeah, the song of the
fucking
Voidfish. Yeah.
Yes, the song of like Voidfish plural. That's what it's called by Rachel Rose Mitchell. That is one of my most favorite songs, and that song got me through so much depression. That song was just beautiful. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no, I'm a big fan of that.
We were playing through that, and the DM who was running it was very unexperienced. Like it was one of those because when you're a forever DM and you
Mm,
are allowing a new DM to take the reins, they kind of look to you sometimes.
yeah.
They'll like, oh, what's the ruling on that? What's the, but we got to where we were fighting the bugbear, and there's this hole that he's supposed to jump down to try to escape.
Mm,
I was like, no, we're not going to do that. And I forget what spell it is, but it creates like an invisible circle that you can hold and carry things. It can only hold you like 1 foot off the ground or something.
oh.
I don't remember what is it levitate? I don't
Um.
remember.
Tensor's floating disk.
Yes, probably. But my memory recall is shit. I've had a lot of I've had a lot of medical events that happen through my life, and I realize that I can't recall the names of things at all, like half the time. And it means I have to take a lot of notes as a DM, but I
Yeah.
used this floating disc over the tunnel that he was going to try and crawl through
Mm,
to drop a level down or drop 2 levels down.
oh.
So he dived into it with the floating disc, hit his head, and slid. And the DM was like, he's going to go over there and stand where the disc is and then declare that he can fly and that he's a wizard. And I was like,
Okay.
okay, I am. and then I took off I just was like, okay, I'm going to stop the spell now. And then we had this debate about if there's a difference between um, going down a slide that you know is a slide and just falling into rocks
Okay.
on a flat surface.
Ow. Okay.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I was like, yeah, he would have been standing up looking at us, flexing his arms, and then fallen into a thing that's exactly his body size, into a flat rock surface. And this poor girl was like, how do I figure out the damage for that? If you fell 30 feet, and I was like, don't fret about that.
It's totally fine.
Yeah, it's fine. You don't even have to figure out the damage right now. Just let us know what's going on underneath it
Yeah.
when we look down the hole.
Listen, new DMs, they're worried. I got a friend recently who's trying to become a new DM, and they want to do a very like grim fairy tale, have a lot of fun with, like fantasy and stories like that and Feywild stuff. And I recommended that they do the module Wild Beyond the Witchlight, which is very Feywild influenced, but they're very worried about many things. Their main issue that they're having right now is dealing with a certain player who's just like, yeah, I want to be like a reverse centaur. I have human statistics and I can talk to horses. It's a curse. I don't know how I got the curse. And she's just trying to find motivation to be like, hey, why are you here? Because, like, technically, some of these things are, kind of plot hooks, but, like, I'm not entirely sure where to go. And so, yeah. She's
Yeah,
getting used to, a lot of these people are her friends, so she can trust a lot of them. But this one player is like somewhat adjacent to, like, it's her friend's brother, and she doesn't seemingly hang out with that individual that often. So,
yeah. It sounds like, I don't know if you've ever done this. If you ever like, hey, after the session, can me and you just kind of chat and we'll try to figure out where we're trying to go with this character and things like that.
I've totally done that because, like, what a player brings to the table is not what you are bringing as a story, so to speak. Because a player will bring, like, I want to play this. I want to potentially have these types of plot hooks or these types of problems in my story. But a DM doesn't know that because we can't read your mind. So you have to tell us of these things so that we can help implement them into your story so that we could possibly do these types of things. I am subscribed to the fact that you should be able to tell your DM all the things you want to happen to your character. That doesn't mean you don't, like, roll with the punches when some other things might happen and they might affect your character and how they grow. But bring to the table, like, my character is a shy character, and I want to kind of, see them blossom as they go through reality. In fact, you can even tell your other players that. And I think it's totally fine to run the story with all of your friends at the table to just be like, hey, my character's kind of going through this thing right now. Perhaps next session, if we are going to do some role play, that my character might be a little bit more aloof or, a little bit more timid towards these certain things. And, if you guys recognize that, that'd be kind of cool because we're all here to have fun together and role play together. And sometimes a player might just be like, oh, I'm going to sit in the corner and be, annoyed. And one other player will be like, oh, okay. And they'll keep doing their thing, not realizing that character is the one who's being, like, annoyed at. I can't think of the proper term right now. And
Annoying.
yeah. Well, like, I'm annoyed at you, but that one other character who's the one being annoyed at doesn't realize that because it's been 2 weeks since we last
Yeah.
played, and I have a lot of things to do in real life, and I'm just here to roll dice and fight a monster, or, whatever. Or, like, I'm here to do combat. I'm not here for the role play of your character finding my character attractive. I appreciate it, but I'm gonna just, I would prefer not to do it.
I don't know if you've done this, or I found this to be helpful for me
Mm.
when I get into serious campaigns, and there's a big difference to me between serious campaigns and one shots. because like what happens in a one shot, I could give a fuck less.
I agree.
But when I'm like, hey, we are having a serious campaign, I give everyone like a session 0 sheet when we figure out our characters, and I was like, here's things that I want. I want 3 people your character knows that are not this group. One good thing about that relationship, one bad thing about that relationship, and I want 3 events that you want to happen to your character that are not beneficial to your character in this
I'm a
campaign.
little curious about that last one. What do you mean by 3 things that happen that are not beneficial? You mean like, oh, I lost my bike?
Things that you want to happen in the adventure, and I've had a lot of different answers on it.
Okay.
And I'm like, I want things that, because I've had players that I handed them a sheet, and I was like, what I mean by this is, what do you want to happen in this adventure that is not going to make your character happy, or they're going to have to ponder over, or they're going to have to react to, whatever it is. And I've had a guy who turned in a sheet who he was like, yeah, this is my character. He has a mom. He has a dad. The plus is that he has a dad. The minus is that his dad is a dad. His mom is his mom. And I'm like, oh my God, okay, what do you want to happen? And he's like, well, I basically want to become undefeatable. And I was like, no, fill out another one.
Yeah, no. I mean, sure, you can try to become undefeatable. Fill out all these. You get 1 point. Put the red marking as a teacher and be like, no, 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 rewrite. This is good. And just for that last one.
Yeah. But one of the things that we had a big party discussion about, and it became, oddly enough, one of the, because, you know, every table has like black rules and things that you can't bring up or talk about.
Yeah.
But I'm a very, like, I enjoy evolving a character through the events that they go through.
I think it's,
and,
you know, it totally depends on what events might occur. Sorry.
Oh, no, it's all good. It's all good. And I had this player who, at the table, dropped a big, very heavy, very hard to handle thing that they wanted to happen to their character. And I was like, whew, oh shit. We're going to have to discuss this as a group because it was our session 0.
Yeah.
And what we found out basically was that we were all okay exploring that, but only in a way that is not RP'd. So it would just be narrated by me.
Okay.
So I would just explain to the party what happened. And then after that event, we explored it in a way that that character can help grow and get past this thing that happened to them.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so we at this table are cool with that, but at 99.5% of the other ones, I would say let's not bring this up.
Yeah, I think it's about how well you know the people at your table and how, everybody has to be cool with it. And if not everybody's cool with it, then we're not going to do it.
Yeah, that's what I learned now.
Yeah. But, that comes with, the trust that you share with your friends and the trauma that the other friends might have not experienced or have experienced, where it's just like, I can deal with this and, sure, we'll deal with this situation in character, all that, but I prefer not to. And if they don't want to, then it's just like, okay, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, we're not going to cover those things.
Yeah.
But I've had in that questionnaire that I ask everyone to fill out, like I've had some interesting ones.
I'm actually kind of curious.
This is another player call out. Steven, I haven't played with you in a bit, but he wrote on 2 of the things that were not beneficial directly to his character to happen in the campaign that he lose his left hand. And in trying to get revenge for that, the person who took his left hand also took his right eye.
Whew.
And I was like, ooh, I can, this is a very easy wiggle room. I can write a lot of shit about this.
Yeah, I like that. The rest of you, Be like Steven.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, I could do this. And then we get on an adventure one day, and there were like signs about the things that he wanted to happen, and the guy that he wrote in his backstory um, showing up, and I could see him gearing up, and this other player character tried to stop Steven's character from losing his arm.
Mm,
But in trying to do so, they got injured, and Steven still lost his arm,
okay.
and now he had to help this like fallen teammate. And it turned into this great story beat about like Steven could have gone after and killed this bad guy who took his arm, but now this other character has to be taken care of, and he has to deal with their dying body while this guy gets away. And there was a lot of like interesting character dynamics that happened with that because his character kind of blamed the person he had to help.
Oh.
And he was like, yeah, if you hadn't have done that, I could have walked off my arm getting lobbed off and killed the dude who did it.
Yeah.
And his coming to terms with the fact that that just wasn't true was when he finally got the bad guy on a one-on-one, and the dude took his fucking eye and left anyway.
Jesus.
And Steven's character like had to come to forgiveness with the other person's character, and it was a great campaign. But it was just funny that like the tables turned around because when they found him, the guy that he had to heal was the one who was having to heal him.
Oh.
So
Jeez.
it was a really good RP beat, and I would say my third favorite that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
My I don't want to go on for too long as far as me chatting. Like you can interject or tell me
I
to
don't
shut the
mind.
fuck up. We we had a player who was like, "Hey, I want my character to die."
Yeah.
They were like, "I want this character to die, and I want it to be kind of a mystery of how it happened." And I was like, "Yeah, sure, we can do that." And they get to the big bad, and right as they're getting ready to kill the big bad, an arrow shoots out from the back of the room and kills his character.
Whew.
And the whole party was like, "What the fuck happened? Blah 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 blah. What the fuck? What the fuck? Who killed him?" And they go out back to find out who it was, and there's nobody there. Well, they that same group later with a new character was
They get an archer
working
joining the
for.
party.
Yeah, no, they had a new character. They had the guy playing a new character who he was much more happy playing, and I get it.
Yeah.
They were working for Baron, who's like, if you ever see Baron in any of my campaigns or hear me talk about him, he's basically like the wizard god guy.
Mm.
And he's like, hey, I need you to go back in time like 6 months and collect this artifact that's been missing. We just need to know where the fuck it is. And they're like, okay. And they go back in time and they start fighting these bandits. And I'm waiting, right? I'm waiting for anything to happen because it's ranged combat in a city.
Oh. Yeah.
And finally, one of my characters nat one, and I was like, you see it go into the back of this house. You hear a scream, and that's it. And they're like, oh shit, we should look, see what the fuck's going on. And then they kill the bandits, and they peer through the window, and they see themselves from 6 months ago, looking in on the party member that they just killed.
That's fucked up.
And they were like, oh shit, we gotta go.
Okay.
It was pretty fucking funny at the time.
Oh yeah. That must have been great. So you killed him, huh? Ooh. Sorry. That wasn't intentional. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that's a great one.
Do you have any favorite story beat moments like that or anything?
Yes. So this is I've had a couple TPKs in my life, but one of the most fun TPKs I had was one of the most chaotic, well, nearly a TPK, but it was one of the most chaotic moments I had where I, you know, did the unfortunate thing of leaving it in the player's hands where I left a entire well, they were going through a dungeon that was from an offshoot of a dwarven mining tunnel where they found this incredibly technologically advanced area which they believe to be gnome tech because in my world gnomes don't exist, and the original idea was that I just don't like gnomes, but then I changed it to okay, maybe I can put them in there for some lore reason. And so they found this abandoned location which they believed to be known gnome technology. They started exploring it, and it was a dungeon. And I worked really hard on trying to make this dungeon, really hard. Like I even asked my dad, "Hey, what's like the buoyancy of ink?" And he's like, "Well, it entirely depends on like whatever's floating on top of it." And I learned a lot of math that day. Effectively, my dad was very smart. But they start going through the area and they find this area that's like oh, this looks like an ink generating machine. And you see like tons of pipes. There's like pulleys. There's like, uh, there's levers, there's buttons, there's winches, there's everything in this room that, this seems to be some form of control room for how this machine works. And the player's like, is there anything here? And I said, no, not really, not other than this, big machine. And as everybody else is leaving, one player's just like, I'm going to touch everything. And I was like, okay. And so I said, I'll leave it up to chance. And whenever I make a chance, I roll a D100. I rolled a 1. And I was just like, oh, fuck. Oh, that's bad. And then I rolled again just to be like, okay, maybe I'll give him saving grace. And I was like, don't worry, there's another one. I rolled another one on a D100. And I was like, oh, fuck. Well, the gods have said it so. And luckily, I had one player who was the smart player, and he decided to stay outside of the room. But as that's happening, I start describing the room, starting to be like, bells and whistles start to go off. The steam like starts to blow out of one vent. A whistle starts going, and the machine looks like something's happening to it. And the player's just like, "Oh, I keep looking around in this room." And I was like, "Okay." And as that's happening, and another player's like, I go up to him and start trying to pull him out of the room. And I was just like, "Oh no!" Now they're both at ground zero. As the night described, the room explodes. Hot ink just goes everywhere, and it's like a sludge at that point. And nearly everybody in the room dies instantly. The player who went to save the one who pressed all the buttons did die immediately, and everyone else was down. Luckily, the person who stayed outside the room was healed up because they were a paladin, but unfortunately, because the explosion occurred, the location system defense activated, and they're all super weak, and I throw a monster at them. And the player character who died had a cursed object on him, which I had reanimate his corpse and start to fight the party as well. So they got beat to fuck, and it ended up with half the party dead as they are fighting their old companion, the security robot, which just has a massive wrench that's wailing on them. And then they had to leave the place on a puzzle, which they never got the chance to deactivate. They only made it past it, which shot lightning out of the ground, which I told them as they're like, they went through it and they marked the correct path to go. But as they went back to it, I deleted the path that they went originally. I was like, "Okay, do you guys remember the way to go?" And they're like, "Oh." It was great fun. It was great fun. But that was, that was a good story. I also love the stories in my games where I make like generally whenever I run a campaign, it's just like you guys are the heroes. You guys are trying to do the good things. But I love a corruption route. I love being able to, talk, whisper into the ear of a player and be like, more power, more this, more that. And uh, one of the players for that campaign was a warlock with a fiend patron.
Yeah.
And in my universe, I don't often use demons because demons are the creature in my world that get a free pass for backstory and generally potential future actions that won't be described, in character or in game to break the black rules. Demons are bad. They're not like there's nothing good about a demon in my world. There's only one story about one character redeeming a demon, and that person got totally fucked over for doing that. The demon didn't get fucked over. The person did. And so I was whispering power into the ears their whole time, and eventually, like, fuck it, let's give in. And I had them kill the person that they were trying to protect, and just basically then dip out as the patron was like, okay, let's extract you before you get fucked up.
Yeah.
And then they turn into a really bad person. I actually have fan art of, well, not fan art. I have art that I commissioned of what they turned into. Where do I have that kept? Because it was really cool art. Yeah, so I'll send this to you privately, and obviously the people on FJ sadly can't see this unless you can edit it into the episode, maybe.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, so I'm going to send this to you directly on Discord, but this is which one? Yeah, this is the one I'm sending. This is some of their art that I had commissioned for their character, and so this was made by one of my favorite artists out there, but I'm not going to say their name because they do a lot of not safe for work. But this is their character, male tiefling with, as some people who know in Pathfinder, with the Quasit Irelium on her shoulder, or on their shoulder. And they were a really fun character. I wasn't the biggest fan of this art, even so, but then they turned into this, which I never got the full version of this in the end. But like, just look at the difference. Like, how fucking evil they changed. Oh yeah, no, it was some great fucking fun for this character to evolve, and now they're effectively in my world the equivalent of a demon prince, and that is a very powerful like increase to power. And technically, their rival is another character in our party who is a redeemer paladin. So I hope potentially one day to get them to interact with each other again. The problem with that though is that there's some IRL drama with this player who made this demon character that he refuses to resolve with me because he really fucked me over, but I'm a very, very forgiving person. And so this is a thing where it's just like, if you talk to me about this and give me your reasons for why you messed with my life, I might, consider this to be something to move forward with. But I was so disappointed that, I couldn't get this art finished and continue playing with that character because they just not the best person. Yeah. Yeah. Life, life sometimes throws fastballs at you.
I played an Oathbreaker paladin.
Mm.
And I didn't initially play an Oathbreaker, but it was my paladin who said that he would never kill anyone.
Yeah.
And that was like part of his oath is like, hey, you don't get to kill people. No. And I challenged the DM at the time. I was like, make something happen that he becomes an Oathbreaker because I'm 100% down with playing that.
Okay.
And they did it in a fascinating way. We ran into this village that passerbys were like, hey, there's something really fucked with that village. We see pregnant people all the time, but nobody's ever seen a kid there.
That'd be weird, yeah.
And we were like, that's odd. And he's like, yeah, it's odd enough that I want you to go look because I think there's a cult going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Weird. So we went to investigate it. And what we ended up finding, right, was that everyone in this town had agreed to keep feeding this failed lich babies to keep them alive. So it was like hidden under a well in a tomb, and it was keeping everyone there alive permanently. Some of them were like
Wow.
thousands of years old, but they just kept feeding it their kids.
Whew, that's fucked up. Yeah.
Yeah. And when we found that out, my paladin was like, okay, actually, and then started dragging people out in the streets and beating them to death.
I mean, that's kind of a fucked up thing to do. To kill a bunch of unborn children. Like just not premature, but just like a bunch of children who barely had a chance at life. Babies.
Yeah,
That's just fucked up. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, you gotta feed a phylactery something, but whew.
yeah.
Oh man, that kind of brings it into a story that I want to talk about for D&D. Maybe, I know we're getting a little bit past the threshold that you mentioned, but uh, D&D is one of my most favorite games ever because it has always brought experiences to me that I never realized I could feel. And one of those was I had like a parental awakening when I was playing D&D where I was like, I before that I was like, I hate kids, I don't really like them, or like I was starting to like view kids as just like, oh, they're just innocent, having fun, and it kind of sucks the world that we're bringing them into currently, even though the world isn't as bad as some people realize. But as that's happening, I was playing this character, and it's my favorite character ever. They're known as Nana, and Nana is a nanny robot. And this was a game that was played with my ex because she was, in my consideration, the second best DM, and that's only because nobody can DM better than yourself because you know exactly what you want generally. And so we are playing this character and we're playing a game called the Matchmaker Campaign, which is effectively a dating sim for an NPC as we go throughout the story to figure out who they should be married to because they are a prince. And I was a nanny and I raised these kids for a very long time. And the prince was effectively my, adoptive son. And as we go through the story, it starts to realize that our characters are very attached and we have actual love for each other and we just so much care for each other, and it's really activating paternal instincts in me that I didn't realize I had. And then she shot my kid in my arms.
Oh shit.
I tried to shield him with my body, but they had a magic bow which has been effectively, it was a god killer bow which could hit a target. It just hits a target. And
Yeah.
it doesn't, as long as you just say, I want it to hit, it will hit. And it will do whatever it has to. It will break through magic. It will just do it because it was effectively meant to kill gods. It was a god killer, like I said. And so I tried to shield him with my body and I threw my arms around him. And then the arrow still hit him because it's what it's meant to do. And that activated so many feelings within me that I was just like, okay, not cool. And for the rest of that campaign, I was just like, hey, can we not hurt kids anymore? Like, because she's very good at writing trauma. And,
Yeah.
I will never be able to, like, have anything bad to say about her like her DMing other than, maybe she should, I like combat as well, so maybe she could have done combat a little bit better. But other than that, and I only say that because I'm really good at running combat. But as we're playing, like there's this other kid that gets invited or not invited to the party, but it's just like he's a child spy. He's gone through a lot of trauma. He killed his own kids, and we had to go through him going through a sob story of her in a childlike voice explaining all this, and my body is just like, I'm melting. Can we keep this kid out of future sessions? Because I want him to be safe, and we're going to put him in an orphanage. Obviously, the rest of the players are like, no, let's adopt him. And I'm like, we are doing so much crazy shit with these bad people that he used to work for. Let's not keep him. Let's put him
Have you ever
safe.
have you ever heard of have you ever heard of Dungeons and Daddies?
I think I have. Yes.
Yeah, it's a D&D podcast, and one of
I
the
think actually
things
my
that
friend told me about that. BB actually.
yeah, so I listened to it and I was like, okay, this is great, whatever. But my curse of being able to play a character better than I'm able to make one kicked
Mm.
in. And I was like, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll put a little homage to that because that podcast really helped me like form character interactions better.
Mm.
because they play characters who have like they're all dads, but they're very, very different dads in very, very different ways. Like you
Yeah.
have a very like overly 90s liberal kind of like doing yoga and not eating meat and like you have one of those dads and you have a very sports American 80s like football my kid ain't no pussy kind of dad. And you have this like you have these interactions where like the characters don't even agree politically, but they all have the same common goal and they can respect each other through that. And it helped me form these interactions. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to put a little homage to that in, some of my campaigns. Uh, and one of the characters that is in that is not a player character, but the DM plays them, and their name is Peyton.
Mm.
Peyton is a 12-year-old boy who has like his strongest stat is like a 7.
Damn.
He's technically a barbarian,
Yeah.
but he's not good for basically anything. And I was like, well, I'm just going to insert Peyton as like an NPC that they just run into once. And so far, every single fucking time, and 3 different groups, they have all adopted Peyton as a permanent character in the party, and they're like, yep, this kid's coming with us. We don't like that, and they have certain Peytonisms. And it got to the point I was like, I need to talk to the guy who made Peyton, because I feel really bad about playing this character.
I think I remember this story. You said this in the previous podcast as well.
Yeah, and I got a hold of him, and he was like, yeah, I don't give a shit. So I was playing Peyton, and the whole thing is, Peyton does things like, I could outrun a horse when it's asleep. I could bench press more than any dead man.
Just full of dad jokes, huh?
Yeah, he's 12, right? But he has this charisma of like, he doesn't believe anything can touch him.
Mm.
And one of the single males at my table, his character is very mothering and nurturing.
Mm.
And one of the entities killed Peyton in combat, and he was like, oh, hell no, absolutely fucking not. And he stood up from the table, and he's like, we are going to fuck this thing up if we have to follow it and kill it.
Did they resurrect Peyton?
Yeah, he did. He fucking did,
good.
too.
Yeah, I'm glad.
Yeah. They went to a fucking like what are they called where everyone's hyper religious?
Zealot?
Yeah, they went to a bunch of like zealots who were like into life and resurrection. He's like, all right, here's the deal. You resurrect this kid or I'm burning this whole fucking place down and killing all of you in it. And like, they were like, wait, that's our whole thing. We'd hate death and we hate dying. And he's like, good. You better just stay that way. Bring this fucking kid back.
That's a very good way.
Yeah.
we hate death, we hate dying. Okay, well, make him alive again. We'll kill you. Just we don't want that. That'd be bad. That's against her oath to die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who's your god? Oh, he's a lich. He doesn't die. You motherfuckers.
But it's funny because if any of my current players are listening, fuck y'all, don't listen to this.
You told 4 of them to listen to this. In fact, that's the 5th call out. That's the 5th call out. Unless that was the same as someone else in this already.
Yeah. But my next plan for our next campaign, which is happening next Tuesday, I'm gonna split the party up into interlocking problems.
Mm.
And I plan on doing something to Peyton that's gonna be negative.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. Unfortunately, resurrecting him wasn't the best idea because the second he woke up, like, man, did I ever tell you about the time I kicked Death's ass?
Too soon, Peyton. Too soon.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh my God, you're okay," and he's like, "Yeah, of course I'm okay. I paid. What do you think would happen?" And they're like, "You died." He's like, no, I didn't. Look at me, I'm alive still.
Listen, let the kid be ignorant. and let everybody else just, treat them the same. There are
Yeah.
some white lies you can tell that are okay. Remind yourself of that, people. Some white lies are okay to tell people, especially if, they went through serious trauma and don't realize it.
Yeah.
Unless they're obviously using that to block it out. And if they are, then you should be something more serious. But still.
It's very hard to tell with him because he'll randomly tell stories and then you'll be like, that's really sad. But then he'll tell them as if they aren't sad.
No.
He'll be like, yeah, remember when my parents decided I was too strong to stay in their household, so they signed me up for the unfortunate foster child fighting arena? And I had to fight other kids. Man, I kicked ass.
Oh, poor Peyton. Peyton's gone through trauma and he hides it through humor. When he
Yeah,
grow
no, like,
up, he's going to be either a comedian or he's going to be one of those unfortunate comedians like Robin Williams. I love you, man. Rest in peace.
I haven't figured it out because I want to introduce adult Peyton, but like it's not my character, and I feel I haven't.
He's your character. You've used him enough that this Peyton that you have is probably not exactly the same Peyton you thought he was.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
yours. Do whatever you want with him. If you don't want him to be an adult right away, why don't you just make him 18? He's barely
yeah.
an adult.
I thought of one future where like everything has gone amiss or awry, and like it's the apocalypse, and there's little packs of people living together, and they find someone. They're like, oh, you need to talk to the great Peyton. You need to talk to Peyton, and they go to one of the sects or whatever.
Yeah.
And they see a man who's like 8 feet tall and fucking jacked. And he sounds like Peyton. And they're like, oh my god, Peyton turned into a fucking monster. And then he'll be like, oh, you mean my dad? Yeah, hold up. Hey, Dad.
Yes. Yes. That's even better.
And like he's maybe grown a whole 2 inches since he was 12.
That is amazing.
But
I think you should totally do that.
yeah. Don't listen to this if you're playing that campaign later. I'll kick your ass.
I think it might be a little late.
You're okay.
Yeah, you should have given them a warning. Like, hey, if you are listening, shut the fuck up and leave.
Yeah. I don't think any of my players listen to our Backwater basket weaving forum website, so I think we're good.
Well, one would hope. Listen, if anybody finds this website, leave. Fucking while you have the chance. In fact, I have a plan to leave. I'm currently reaching close to 10,000 favorites on there, and once I do, I think I'm just gonna delete the account. Because
Really?
I've been there I have been on that website for 11 years. It has taken 11 years of my life. I'm done. There's nothing good on FJ anymore.
See, I want to feel that way because I think I've been there since like 2010 or 11 as well. But I don't think I'm ever gonna leave.
I got no reason to stay anymore. It doesn't provide any. It provides like a giggle every once in a while, and that's about it.
Yeah. I don't know. I've got a lot of like fond memories and I've met a lot of interesting people there. And I think that I'm going to keep trying to do that. In fact, 3 of like some of my best friends, Blue, my Blue, yeah, yeah. It was so weird whenever you were like, yeah, I'm Blue, and you have this skeleton profile because he always has a skeleton profile, and he goes by Blue. And I was like, holy shit, a second Blue.
A superior Blue.
Ooh.
Blue. All
Blue.
I'm saying is the other one doesn't have, a reason to be on the podcast.
He has been on the podcast, you dingus.
Yeah, well, I don't listen to your other podcast episodes. Maybe you should have made them cooler. Don't worry, I'm here now. Just become the most arrogant person on this podcast at the very end.
Yeah, just do it right there. He was actually on Wingless Falcons episode when we did an interview with her.
Oh, that's cool. I tried to I wanted to commission her for art a very long time ago, and now it kind of feels awkward because I think one of the last messages we sent to each other is just like, yeah, no, once I get money, it's been so long.
Oh,
Yeah,
I,
no,
I have a Discord that's basically filled with artists from Funny Junk, and I think we're looking at like 70 members on there now.
mm.
I think I talked about this last episode. I may not have. I don't remember.
I don't remember it being part of the last episode, but I have heard of this elusive, the FJ art server or just certain art servers where, a bunch of artists hang out. And I tried picking up art temporarily, but I was doing pretty decent at it. I won't lie. I had a very Darkest Dungeon style, like Hellboy comics kind of like art style. And I only say I was doing decently because I did a lot of progress more than one other person, which I'm going to call them out. What is their name? Magikarp Master, I think. Do you know them?
I have been told about them. I don't know them personally. Are they the
All right.
person who has been drawing for like 15 years and hasn't progressed at all?
Yes. The main reason I picked up art was out of spite. I was just like, if I'm ever going to do art, I don't want to be like Magikarp Master. And I'm in another server with Magikarp Master right now, and I can't call him out because it's just like I don't have the courage to call him out to his face. I'm not going to lie. But your art sucks and I want you to get better. You have so much to improve upon, and I've seen what you've done in this server. And if only you spent a little more time just learning a little bit of anatomy. Not everybody is a blob. Like, it's not hard. I learned art super quickly. It took me 3 months. That was it. And then I
I
gave
don't
up
know.
because I got depressed.
Oh man. I
I
don't know.
I broke up with my ex.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I've never landed on my feelings about that person because I've only been told about them through other artists.
Exactly. You don't know them.
Yeah, I don't know them. I hope that whatever path they're taking, they get where they want to go in like a satisfying manner. And
Oh
that's all I
man,
can really say. Like,
that reminds me of two other FJ people. So obviously you know about Spirit because everybody knows about Spirit.
yeah.
Was he on the podcast?
No, I haven't. Our next episode's actually going to be with Drawfag.
Hey, that'll be cool. I really like his art. But no, Spirit, absolute asshole as well. I'm gonna use this platform to call everybody out. Spirit, you're an asshole. I'm glad you're gone. Never liked your art, and you were super creepy. Also, fucking vampire fucker. Do you know that guy?
Um, I don't think they're in my server, or they might be. I don't know.
Okay, vampire fucker is disgusting, and I say that in the most honest way. And I have called them out to him before. Oh, I'll call out one other person after. And if my agent ever hears about this podcast, sorry. But so Vampire Fucker's disgusting because on FJ they always pretend to be cute, ooh woo, happy stuff. But they posted in Not Safe for Work once their room, and it was the most filthiest fucking thing I've ever seen, and it was just grotesque. There was garbage everywhere. Their bed was stained and they were sleeping on the floor. It was just ugh. Also Danster or Danstar. Do you know that person?
No, I've heard of them, but I don't know
Yeah,
them.
so they're a very popular poster on FJ, but they posted in Not Safe for Work for the funnies, and it was IRL bestiality, and I was just like, "What the fuck are you doing?" And I called over a mod, and he got mad at me for doing it. I was just like, "Bro, this is gross. Fuck you." And so
I
he blocked me, and then I blocked him. I was like, "Fuck it."
I've only ever had drama with one Funny Junk user.
Mm,
Our drama was it was stupid.
mm.
And Fog, if you ever listen to this, which I doubt you will,
Okay.
but if you ever listen to this, because the thing was, Fog is chronically on Funny Junk. Like, he's a real dude. He's not like a bot or anything.
He just sets up a lot of his posts.
yeah, and I wanted to see if it was possible, so I made an account, like an alternative account, and I started posting a lot, and
Mm,
I got within like the top three in like a week, and I was like, oh, okay, so this is possible and sustainable, like to do it this way, but you have to chronically be on Funny Junk.
yeah.
Um, but Fogg was very like because I think he's able to look at the stats of Funny Junk and say, hey, I'm a top poster and a mod. I have a lot of like invested in this.
Yeah, well, mods are gay, so.
Um, but there was an event where it became apparent that uh, original content was being buried by how Funny Junk worked.
That's true.
And there was a guy, Crasslander, who was posting a a list for original content.
Mm.
And he was like, yeah, okay, so I'm dropping this list and it's got like 200 or 300 people on it for original content to help them get noticed.
Hmm.
And then we found out that nobody on his list was getting notified. And
Oh,
that like OC was actually actively being buried because it's much easier to have a site with activity if instead of going to like an original content or supporting an artist, it's very easy to have something that's reposting memes. Because I don't know if you know this, but every time you hit next on Funny Junk, it counts as a new visit to the website,
oh,
which is how the ad revenue works. They're like, oh, you've got 150,000 visits on the website, so we're going to pay you for that ad space. But in
yeah,
reality, it's just one guy clicking next, like, however many times.
yeah.
Um, and Crass was like, hey, why isn't my list working? And there was some back and forth with mods about why his list specifically was the only one not working. And then he was banned
Oh.
and then IP banned for bringing it up afterwards.
You mean the mods
Yeah.
abusing their power again? No, saying so.
Yeah. And because of that, I had that Discord and I was like, yeah, because he was associated with a lot of the artists, I was like, if you know any artists who want to have a place to like make money and shit, come on the Discord. And then like 60 or 70 people hopped over.
Nice.
And every month I do a drawathon where you can win $100 to $200 if your original content that matches the theme gets the most votes. And Bombshell has bounties which get posted every month, like 10 or 20 bounties that are like
Hmm.
15 to 20 bucks. That if you claim the bounty and then do it, you get paid. So there's a lot of good ways to make money.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about that server, because I don't know if I qualify for being an artist as much anymore because I haven't drawn much in a very long time. I do draw every once in a while, but I usually just draw to send like reference pictures to my other friends so they can commission. I would be interested in what that server looks like because I'm in another server that's like that. I don't know if you've ever participated in the Hyena Hideaway, but that's a server that's also for artists that a person from FJ made. And I was just like, hey, I made art. And he was just like, hey, do you want to join? I was like, sure. He used to have Drawfag in there, as far as I'm aware, but then he left.
There's a lot of artists in there that are really fucking good and way better than I'll
Oh,
ever
yeah.
be.
Oh, yeah. No. Listen, bro, you can't compare yourself to other people. You got to compare yourself to yourself because then you can be like, man, I progressed.
Yeah, yeah. But so Fogg jumped on the Discord and it was very weird for me. I was like, why are you
Well,
here?
he's friends with like Wingless, as far as I'm aware, and some others.
Yeah, he's done a lot for a lot of users. Um, as far as getting like unbanned and stuff.
Mm.
And then I got drunk one night and was on the Discord. This is a true story.
Yes, I love stories like this.
I got drunk one night and I was on the art Discord and I don't Fogg and I have a had, because we don't really talk anymore. He's still on the Discord, but we just don't talk.
Mm.
Um, had this funny back and forth because we both rap. Like, I've rapped for songs before, and the only thing I ever got paid for was doing a Shaggy impression on the song, which was weird.
Okay.
Um, but we were just kind of going back and forth, and it was fun. But then I got drunk, and I came back to the Discord, and I was like, I said something bad about admin or something,
Yeah.
and he was like, no, that's... He was kind of in support for how the system worked, but not really. He wanted to help the people, but also he wanted to continue enjoying benefiting from constantly posting just memes and low effort posts. And I
Okay.
was like, wow, really fucking sucking admin's cock right now, aren't you?
Yeah. Nah. I appreciate admin has made FJ for a bunch of autists to get together and have fun with each other.
Yeah.
I don't care much about anything else.
Yeah, yeah. And I was wrong to say what I said because the way that I articulated what I meant was very wrong and inappropriate and drama filled.
Hmm.
But I understand because he was like, from here on out, me and Vash Stampede will not communicate.
Wait, did he just like say that publicly to the server?
Um, no, not yes and no.
Okay, because there's a difference. Let's say it's like your server, and everybody's there to have fun together. It's very awkward to like tell a bunch of people in a server that who may not be even a part of the drama or not care that hey, me and this other user aren't communicating anymore. Like
Well,
who?
yeah, it's my server because I own it.
Oh,
But I just, it was so fucking bizarre. It was like, he was like, I want you to understand that we are through. I'm not communicating with you.
hmm.
And since then, I've like, I sobered up and I was like, ah, fuck. Why did I be a dickhead about that?
I mean,
But
sometimes you
recently,
just got them things on your mind. Sorry.
yeah, he hopped on, in my DMs, um, and was amicable. And I'm willing to open that up and admit that I shouldn't have been a shithead about it.
Hmm.
But I don't know if he's willing to, and I'm willing to like, because we did an episode of the podcast together, and I'm willing to like bury that as
Yeah.
long as we never talk about Funny Junk again. Like, I will never talk to you about how it operates again.
Listen, I know that Funny Junk is a cesspool, and I'm aware that there's certain people out there who post some nasty shit on certain parts of it that, we probably shouldn't speak about because let's face it, this thing is just unfiltered. It's old internet, and I appreciate most of it is old internet, but there's still a bunch of people on there who are just like, yeah, let's post the real gross shit because we're gross on here, and it's just like I don't like them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When I made the Funny Junk art Discord, I was like, all right, guys, here's the deal. I'm very open to everything. If you post something that is anyone who appears to be or is underage, I will remove you and there is no conversation.
It's just a ban. Just get
Yeah,
banned.
we do not talk about it. I will not tell anyone. And luckily, everyone has been reasonable fucking humans about it.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fair. Like there's some people out there. It's just like, yeah, I did it because it's funny. It's just like with Danster, like I just talked about. Like he said, oh, haha, it's funny. It's like, bro, it's not funny. This is gross. This is gross shit. Why would you do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some terminally online people who don't understand basic social etiquette. And it's just like, would you show this to your boss? And it's just like, yeah, I would because it's super funny. It's just like, okay, cool. Would you show this to your boss that you just met? Probably not. Oh,
Yeah.
I just got a message from the only thing I will regret not leaving or for leaving FJ is I have a friend on here who just messaged me and we don't talk that often, but it's just this random Chech guy who one day messaged me and then we just started talking ever since. He's a great dude, and he just messaged me right now. Have a nice day, D&D Mister. Oh,
Very nice.
thanks, bro. Hope you're doing well. All right, anyways. But
Well,
yeah.
I think on that sort of note, since we've been going about 2.5,
Oh
I think
yeah.
we're gonna call it.
This is the long episode. We never
Yeah,
even
one
got
of them.
to how I got into voice acting and all that stuff.
Don't worry, we can do a return episode. That's not a big deal. If you want to hang out and shit, yeah.
Oh, I love hanging out.
Oh yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I
thanks for having
found
me.
that I'm fairly amicable to just chilling.
Yeah. Nah, that's fair. I'm generally quote unquote very free, but if my agent ever contacts me, I kind of have to take priority because I make money from them.
Yeah, you gotta live, dog. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, because that's a whole different story as well. But there's just so much about FJ that I think is both ingrained into both of us, and especially with D&D, as we talked about, that we just had a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
And you're
yeah.
very pleasant to talk to.
I try to be.
Yeah. I can't wait
Um,
to get off this and then just message everybody about how much of a bad situation.
just
It's
message them,
absolute
be like, hey,
worst.
don't listen to this. I kind of shit on you.
No, no. Anybody I called out that deserved it. Magic Art Master, get better at drawing. I appreciate you as a human being, but goddamn, your skill sucks. Fucking Danster, you're gross. Vampire fucker, you're gross as well. Spirit, I'm glad you'll never see this. Because fuck you. You were so creepy and gross.
Well, on that note, I'm gonna wrap this up. This has been Stampede and Rasconza, uh, aka
Yeah.
Blue.
Yeah, follow us on Monster Monday 1 because we try and make monsters every week. Monster Monday 1, and we technically also have a Discord. I might promo that when this episode is out.
Absolutely. Link anything you
Yeah.
need to.
Thank you.
All right. I'm out.